Well, next on the show, sports fans have no shortage of ways to follow their favorite teams these days, but locally, there's a growing number of sports fans connecting through a growing number of local sports podcasts. Our Pat Kanuga recently attended an event celebrating this emerging sports community in Winnipeg.
It's a Tuesday evening at a southwest Winnipeg craft brewery. The taproom is filled to capacity with 250 sports fans. But they haven't gathered to watch the big game. They're here to celebrate a unique community that's emerged the past couple of years, fans of local sports podcasts. The podcasts, 3 in particular, are filling the digital space and filling a void left in the Winnipeg sports scene after the parent company of TSN 1290 Sports Radio abandoned the format and its broadcasters for recorded comedy. Gone are the traditional radio call-in shows, replaced by people in the chat room, many whom have aliases and are meeting each other face-to-face for the first time. Anu Singh is one of them. The 40-something dentist said he thrives on these local sports podcasts.
I'm a huge fan. I like the intimacy of it. It's personal. You get to know the people I feel more on a personal level, less so through the lens of, say, the people they're working for. I feel you get a more genuine opinion and uninhibited experience.
The party at the brewery is being put on by these guys.
The Kenny and Rennie Show is brought to you by...
Kenny and Rennie are Ken Weeb and Sean Reynolds, sports reporters with Rogers Sportsnet. Their podcasts pop on several platforms after Winnipeg Jet games or out of the blue if there's significant breaking news on the NHL Hockey Club.
And this is the Kenny and Rennie post-game show after a game.
Reynolds says when they started the podcast just over 2 years ago, they had no idea it would build the loyal following it has.
Definitely feels like a new way of connecting with your audience, and I think this is an example of it. You know, from what we do on our podcast, you end up knowing people by name, and you talk with them in the show, and then when they see you in real life, they talk with you in real life. You put a name with the face, and it gives you a connection that, you know, I've been in media since 2006. I've never been able to connect with an audience the way that we have done like this.
At another table, Andrew Hustler Patterson is holding court talking about the NHL Conference Finals. He hosts this podcast.
This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Patterson and Michael Remus.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Patterson, Michael Remus with you, and we got another busy one.
Weekdays at 1 in the afternoon, Patterson signs on and talks a variety of sports depending on the season. He and producer Michael Remus lost their afternoon drive gigs when TSN was axed. Within a couple of months, they launched Winnipeg Sports Talk, broadcast on the usual digital platforms in just over 2 years and more than 550 shows. WST has 2 million YouTube views.
But one thing I had absolutely no doubt was that the demand for fun sports talk content was still going to be there, whether the old station was on the air or not. And, you know, because of my background and the fact that I've been doing the drive show for just about the full 10 years from start to finish, had a unique opportunity to be able to kind of start something that we could really keep that going. That being said, I think it has even exceeded my expectations, which were that we would succeed doing it.
Besides the content, this is Patterson's job. He had to go out and hustle up sponsors, and he did, about a dozen of them.
And maybe the biggest feather in our cap is that every one of the sponsors that's come on with us, either initially or afterwards, has pretty much stayed on till now and 2 years later. So they're obviously seeing benefits from it. They're hearing about it, and it's turned out to be great partnerships with pretty much all local businesses, and that's another great thing about it. I mean, we are a local show with local people, supported by local companies, and I think they are feeling the reciprocal support from people that enjoy our show because of how they stepped up to keep this sort of format, medium, and content available for sports fans.
If there's a granddaddy of shows in the local digital space, it's these guys.
For more than a decade, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
That trio of friends started a hockey show 14 years ago at Red River College's campus radio station. They were picked up by 1290 for a Saturday morning hockey show just before the Winnipeg Jets returned to town in 2011, and then transitioned to YouTube just 5 days after the format change at 1290. Dave Manook says something that's unique is the competition between the podcasts. There really isn't any.
When a Jets game ends, we send our audience to Kenny and Rennie. I'm doing a show on Thursday about the Moose end of season right after Winnipeg Sports Talk. So Winnipeg Sports Talk will send their audience to me. So we've all created this really good symbiosis, for lack of a better term, to work all well together.
What do you think the fans get out of it?
Going back to that idea of community, I really do think that it's sprung up. Hustler and Remus with what they do and their get-togethers, Sean and Ken with their get-togethers, it's allowed people to create this community.
Anu Singh says the podcasts have made him a better fan and help him see sports differently than he did in the past.
To become a more of a genuine fan of the game because you're more connected to it. You kind of get a more well-rounded view of the game with people who have more experience in the game than I do.
In Winnipeg, checking out the pods on the usual digital platforms, I'm Pat Kanuga.